It's super cute. Kale's here with his partner and her girlfriend, and all the kids in the family are like gathered around a solitary computer watching your set engrossed.
That image reminds me of like having the family computer, like growing up in the early 2000s, and it would be like in the computer room. Yeah. And like you would gather the whole family around to show your dad like the first ever YouTube video or something.
Exactly.
It was like Smosh.
So if people want to jump in and talk in the chat, that's more than welcome. We're just going to kind of talk a little bit about music, I guess, and that sort of thing. And then I'd be really interested in hearing what people have to say in terms of feedback. I know I want to ask you kind of about your process with making music. You were like using modified mangoes and a tongue drum and modular synth, and it seemed like the piece had various movements, but can you talk a little bit about your process and how you go about doing things?
Yeah, I definitely focus a lot on like touching things, and over the last year my focus has like really geared towards like real instruments, because I used to do only modular synth stuff for a long time. Right. So then I bought the tongue drum during pandemic because I had like a bunch of dreams about it after I saw it on Etsy. And I was like, oh, I have to buy it. Like, I need it. And then when it came, I couldn't stop playing it. And honestly, I still can't. Like, I still interact with it all the time. But my like desire, I guess, when putting this set together was that I wanted to make it as like tangible and like layered as possible, I think, which is why I use the room sounds in it as well. Got it. Like the cats are coming in and out of it. Like some of them you can't see, but like one of the cats came in during as well.
Oh, the mangoes were... The cats were a crowd favorite.
Yeah, in and out. I just wanted to use like everything, I guess, but I also didn't want to do too much because like normally I would have liked to use like tin cans or something, but I didn't want to overdo it. I'm a big fan of non-instrumental instruments. Like I really like toys and like assorted objects, right? Which is where the mango thing comes in. Although normally I would have used like clementines, but I had to use mangoes because I was out.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it was a video I saw on Instagram or something that you shared with us when we were doing sound check, but there was a belated request to borrow your partner's mangoes. They're already plugged in. You're like, can I use these?
Yeah, I was like, I'm already using them. Like, can I use them? She's like, they're already like ripped apart. You're already smushing them. Well, yeah, it's definitely fun. Like I call myself an experimental artist, and I do think that the music is experimental, but I think that the process kind of has to be experimental as well, at least for me in my production. How about you? What do you think about experimental music?
I think like as a term, it's like one of those words that you hate to use but have to use. Like it kind of defines a genre a little bit. And I think it can talk about, it can be a reference to that genre, but it can also talk about your practice, like the way that you approach making music. I think experimental has baggage too. Like I think experimental is a word that comes out of an academic tradition, kind of like military industrial tradition, where it's like Bell Labs is being paid to make phones sound better, and that's where we get a lot of the gear that we get for recording today and that sort of thing. And it was also a way that white artists could distance themselves from jazz and improvisation, so they could be like, oh, well, we're not doing this racialized music. We're doing something different, more serious. But I think also, if you want to set people up to understand what it is you're doing, sometimes you say, oh, I do more experimental stuff, even though there are genres within experimental, like ambient.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a fair point. I think that like the word experimental comes a lot with like an academic like seriousness almost, and same with like anything kind of working with electronic music. I think that a lot of people that work in it almost take themselves too seriously and take a lot of the fun out of it.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this earlier, and I'm wearing the shirt from that album. But I think Aphex Twin is a good example of somebody who does experimental work, but who manages to keep it,
Light.
fun, keep it playful, keep it goofy.
Yeah.
I think there's like seriousness in execution, which I'm into.
Mhm.
Like people who like, rather than being like, "Oh, I made this weird music, can you listen to it?" And just being like, "No, I'm doing a thing I care about, and I would like you to pay attention." And I am there for that seriousness, but not the kind of like dour, dark, never crack a smile sense of seriousness. I think there has to be play, and I think that's partly why trying out Bramble and us playing, together on a night like this, where everybody's like, "What is this software?" Is kind of a good combination.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that, I don't know, like for me personally, like the essence of play is a huge part of like everything I do. And I think that fun needs to be a part of life in general. Like I'm a fun loving person. I love to have fun, and I like try to prioritize it in my day to day, because it's important for me to have a good time. And like, even though I take my music and my performances and everything I do seriously, I still want to make sure that when I'm making it, I am having fun while doing it. Do you feel similar? Like, does it ever feel like work?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I was just reading this quotation. Somebody, maybe it was on Twitter or something like that, and people were like, somebody asked John Carpenter, like, "Oh, do you miss making those old DIY movies like Halloween and like doing that sort of work?" And he's like, "I don't like doing work because that requires that you have to get up early in the morning." But I also think there's a question of like assiduousness and application, and I feel like with this sort of music, I like doing improvisational music. Sometimes it's like you record it and you just get it out there, and then
Yeah.
some types of music, I think that you have to like try and figure out what it is you're trying to get across with the sounds you're using, with the arrangement of the composition and that sort of thing. And that's actually not easy. It's not fun. Like there's times where it's like I have to get myself back to the desk to mix and
like
to
do
record.
the composition and like do all the like nitpicky things of like putting the sounds together.
Yeah. And I know once I'm there, I'll be focused, and that's the thing, to like, not be a person looking at all the bad stuff that's happening on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, but rather just be a person concentrating on something, and I like that dissolved concentration mode.
Yeah, and that's a person like doing.
What was that packet from the newspaper? What's in it?
It's like a mango mix.
Was it good?
No.
Damn.
No,
Was it as good as my pasta?
I think that's what you're
That's pretty bad. I usually am a very good cook.
Oh, wow. I guess if you look up next support.
What?
Next support.
Oh, maybe that's what I should
Was that when you're sitting, you should use it?
Yeah. Is it right here? Yeah.
How come it's so long? You guys got 3 hours or something?
Well, I did the tech rehearsal
Today?
at 5:30.
Oh, okay.
Then the event started at 7. It goes to 10.
It's 3 hours, so long already.
Yeah, they have like a bunch of stuff kind of spaced out.
Have they different artists or something? Sure.
Yeah. So.
You are these events that are you still having to find all those events like you have to?
But it's easier now. It's like in a flow,
Oh. Did you find this one?
Yeah.
How'd you find it?
I just know them because they're big in Toronto.
Oh.
So.
And they agreed to do it?
Yeah. I'll have to charge my computer.
Maybe they'll be in the Globe and Mail, not the New York Times.
Yeah, right. Is that good?
Oh,
Who's that?
incoming call.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, honey.
Hi, how's it going?
Not good. I feel pretty miserable. Yeah, I came this afternoon. I started to take it. My rheumatologist called and she ordered an MRI for me and some blood tests, depending on what's happening there. And if they're all not burn,
Spurs?
spurs, then some neurosurgeon comes
What does a neurosurgeon do? Get rid of them?
in. Yeah.
They work on spines because of the nerves in the spine.
Well, if it does, because the MRI will see, and it does turn out to be spurs, and if the spurs are infected, then they'll remove the spurs. It grows out of my bone. It grows out of the calcium in the bone, and it rubs against the bones, and there's no cushion.
Oh, that sounds so
That's
good.
what causes the pain. Not as I speak. Is this mine now?
No, it's mine.
Oh, I didn't get you one.
Oh, well, I spoke to her tonight, so I don't know when she'll be able to arrange it. Yeah. She's putting urgent down, but she's hesitant on believing that they'll think things are urgent. I don't know. So that's my pretty awful story. The pain is actually getting worse. It's not getting better. I'm hoping I'll have my MRI within the next 5 days. It's a long weekend, right? That's not good. Oh, she suggested I put a collar around my neck for support for my neck and shoulders. For support. And so I wanted to know if you had one or if you could recommend it. Can you take a closer look?
This thing.
Yeah, I did Google. I did Google. There was much a selection, I have to tell you. That's it. The day was not a good day. She didn't know. She didn't commit. I also spoke to my family doctor today, and she told me what meds I should not take with some meds. So I have to be careful of what I take. So I'm doing that. For what? This? I can't move. This is the problem.
Just texting Marco.
listen.
How do you spell rheumatologist?
What?
How do you spell rheumatologist?
RHEUMA.
Oh, here we go.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no protection.
Wait, you trying to find out what they do?
Oh, I'm just texting Marco. He was just asking.
You ready, Mark?
It moves around.
How about that?
Yeah, he was just asking.
Bone and causes the pain. There's no cartilage. Well, that's where the neurosurgeon comes in. And with necks, you have to be really careful. How much cartilage with invasive surgery like that. So how's your day? The kind people always have. Oh, gardens, is it almost done? Yeah, Jody was here and she worked pretty much the whole thing.
Beautiful.
It's actually gorgeous.
Looks really good.
Hope tomorrow you won't have to sit outside. I have crown in the morning. I'm hesitant about going because it's very physical for me. I need it.
That doesn't sound good.
I need it really. But then I have to call up my phone to see that.
Are you tired?
Tired?
I'm always tired.
Anyway,
I don't do anything all day. Okay.
how's Barry
I sit
doing?
and talk on the phone. How tired can you get?
Will you ever let people back in to your office?
Yeah. How should we? Are you?
Speakerphone?
How should we get? Okay, you loud? Oh, here it is. Sorry. All right, you're louder.
I don't know. I at some point I have to. I can't imagine it now. I can't see doing it soon. Well,
For all week.
I guess when everybody's had their second vaccine, then that's and everybody's back to hopefully normal, then I'll let them back in there. But there's lots of advantages. There's disadvantages and advantages. To
Yeah.
the telephone.
I think it's so convenient as a patient, but then you don't have privacy, which can suck. If you don't have
But you have to. Patients, some of them go walk or they sit in their
yeah,
car.
that's the hard part.
They have to go in another room.
We should put urgent down on the requisition.
Yeah.
But as she pointed out, she very often.
I know people who do it in their car.
Yeah.
But I don't have a
Yeah.
car.
So,
What?
I don't have a
she
car.
said it's outside.
No, you don't have it. Oh, you want to go for a driving lesson?
Yeah.
Another time, though. You'll take my car. It's easy. My car is easy to be comfortable for you. Like a smart car. You were like a whiz in a smart car. Remember my smart car?
And,
That was very comfortable for you.
I didn't even have to learn how to park.
Oh, there's that.
No, I didn't have to
That's
learn in
sorry.
a smart car.
You didn't have to. Why not?
You don't need to parallel park, you just go in. So easy.
But in your test, you have to parallel park.
Downstairs. I haven't been walking at all for 2 days.
Yeah.
Get off of it.
Back, because I moved this car up, and it felt big. I think I need your car
Oh,
smaller.
it's huge. Yeah, it's hard to back it up. Actually, it's very hard. You have to zigzag and to try to get it back. My car is much easier to back up.
It's
Yeah.
terrible. All I want to do is sleep.
Ugh.
So I might do that tonight, sleep. That would be good.
Yeah, I gotta practice.
That's good.
You think what?
I gotta practice at some
Oh, yeah.
point.
Were you practicing with somebody? You said. You said you were practicing with somebody.
Yeah, I've been practicing with a couple friends.
You have a number of friends that have cars.
Yeah.
Of course, Gilda's
It
has a car, but
was
she's in
increasing.
12.
Yeah.
But Alana has a car.
Yeah, Alana has a
It
car.
was not
Who else?
normal because I didn't want to go back to normal.
So I'm just seeing if my computer's gonna die. I have to plug it in.
But it was a good
Um,
Sam has a car.
Sam has a
No.
car.
Have you practiced with?
So now I have
I should have practiced this weekend with her, but I didn't.
I'm not sure that's the way to go.
I'll do it another time.
Well, you practiced a lot with Batante, I remember, before when you get your level.
I know. I could ask him to
Did I
practice
ask
with
what?
him.
Uh,
It's just hard right now because you're not
With
supposed to
COVID,
be
you're
in
gonna get in the
cars
car.
with people.
What-
Yeah,
what's that?
class.
because of
It was about
COVID,
1 o'clock.
you're not supposed to be in a car, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't
Country
feel.
That was able to go down.
Maybe this is a bad mindset, but I don't feel worried anymore.
Worried about what?
COVID, like
Oh,
not that I believe it's there, but I'm not as
I
like,
don't understand words.
Oh.
It's different.
you know what I mean? I'm like,
well, that's good. If you're not a
But
wreck
this
about it,
thing
doesn't
will be
help.
over. I hope to God it will be over soon.
yeah,
I can't take much more.
yeah, but We'll see. But you have to figure out doing my tests and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Your driving test.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the G2, the first level.
Yeah.
And then the G is the highway driving.
Presently causing the amount of pain.
The earliest
I don't know for sure.
I can get it is maybe October. The
It's
G2?
the G2?
Yeah.
It's a G2. You have to do city driving. You have to park, right?
Yeah.
And what else do you have to do in city driving?
You have to do an exit and entrance from a highway as well.
Okay, right early.
Oh, I thought there was no highway driving for the G2.
You do, yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why people always say you should do it in a
My
small
neck
town.
And,
Right, yeah.
and my shoulder if possible.
Yeah, so I have to figure that out.
Is Marco planning to do this too?
Give extra
He says he is, but he hasn't done it yet.
extra support for my shoulders.
Hopefully he will. Ugh. Kicking myself, I didn't get my G when
if
I
you're
should
sitting in
have.
a
Well, you
chair,
were in
you
Ireland,
don't
weren't
have
you?
armrest.
In England,
it just
I mean.
sort of hangs down.
I let it expire.
Yeah.
So that's.
I remember
that's
you made this
uncomfortable.
laugh,
So I need
this raucous
something
laugh, and you
that
admitted that you let
it gives it
it
some
let it happen.
support, so I can do that.
But it wasn't the problem though. You were in you had times you were in England or something, and then you came back.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
could have figured it out. I just didn't want to. I hated driving.
Are you differently about it now?
I don't feel as scared now, to be honest.
No, well, that's good.
I just want to get it done. I feel like I just want to do it and not.
And then you're going to get a car?
Okay, thank you.
You're going to lease a car?
Or maybe your car.
Can I ask somebody to get me my pills?
Yeah, I have to plug in my computer. Which pills?
And then you still? I'm fine.
Okay. I'm just going to plug this in.
But I'd really invite people to go have a listen. And Kale's on it too. I don't know if I mentioned that, but
Do you have is it going to be a physical release too, or no?
not a physical release. I can't afford it. Marcusa says fun is over. Marcusa canceled fun. Yeah, no, it won't be a physical release. I can't afford it.
Is physical important to you, like as a listener?
It's really,
Do you care about it?
it's really. I mean, I don't want to pivot the camera with all these things plugged in, but I am sitting in front of a wall of vinyl. It's like Mayan and Kale's vinyl, and it has been important to me. But I think as you and I discussed, like I just listen more and more on Spotify. I listen more and more on Bandcamp. Like I listen more and more to like some of these internet radio stations. And buying something, it becomes like kind of like a quote unquote moral act, as opposed to like I don't put on records very much, you know. Like maybe if me and Sarah are cooking or something, we put on a record. We don't like. I listen in my headphones all the time.
Yeah.
Some of the vinyl
kind of the
was
same,
Jonathan's. Sorry.
I'm kind of the same. Like I got rid of some records earlier this year. I sold a bunch, and then some more found their way into my mailbox as like gifts from people. And like I just don't listen to them as much as I thought I would. I'd rather just put on like a YouTube playlist or like whatever playlist I'm listening to on Spotify. It's more realistic for me to consume music in that way. Because like I can't even remember the last time I put a record on.
Yeah. Well, and then like the record's called Decorative Arts, and in part that's a reference to you know how people often experience ambient music, but it's also I think what happens to us in the contemporary music listening milieu, where we are so prone to be passive listeners. We do listen a lot to playlists. We do listen a lot to things and just wait for the next thing to come up. And so also a reference to that manner of listening. Basquiat said, like art decorates space and music decorates time. So that's perhaps a salvation for an album as decorative arts.
Yeah. What do you want people to do when they listen to it? I interviewed somebody once, and he said that he wanted people who also made kind of like an ambient chill wave kind of record. And he said that he wanted people to water their plants when listening to it.
Griffin said, Griffin from Subversive Press, I've been talking to him about the record a little bit, and he said that he put it on looking out the window, and he said that it was well suited to that. And I do think, like, I want people to kind of get into the music, like listen to it and attend it, but I think it can also just do what William Gibson said and like be a soundtrack for moving around a city or something like that. Like I don't know. I think people have personal relationship to music, you know. What do you like? You've just released 2 experimental records in the last couple of years. What would your ideal be?
I want people to like sit and look at their computer and listen to it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I want, like I don't, like my music's not really suited for like any activity because it can be really harsh sometimes or very like textured and layered. Like there's a lot of like little nuances that I put in it that I guess I would like, if someone were to listen to it, the way that I would prefer them to is to like actually pay attention.
Yeah.
And to like see what's there as opposed to like just put it on in the background because I didn't design it for that purpose, and I also don't think that it could just be there because generally it's not pleasant.
It does have pleasant. I beg to differ, but I know what you mean. There are pleasant passes, but I hear what you're saying.
It's not like chill.
Yeah. I'm also working with visual artist Evangeline Brooks, and she's doing like this.
Oh, she's GPU, so great! Shout out Evie.
Yeah, and she's doing this like very GPU. Well, I imagine it to be GPU intensive work. That is kind of functioning like a video or a visualizer for the entire album. And in my fantasy, people will, you know, do what you say. You know, open your browser to one window and attend the entire mix, the long mix, while taking in the visualizer. That's one fantasy. But I know that people tend to.
Yeah, I think that with like digital platforms, people are paying attention like even less than they used to.
Why is it? Is it our ethnic heritages? Is it like your Russianness and my Irishness that have us turn to these like dark corners very quickly and repetitively?
I don't know. Maybe a lot of like dark stuff comes out of Russia. Like the country's a mess.
Well, I'll leave that to your mouth. But yeah, but I do find we do tend to get.
No, we know. Yeah, it's true. I mean, when you have like generations of like ancestral poverty buried in there somehow, and like your grandma tells you horror stories from the past, you're kind of like, oh damn, maybe it's not so good. At least for me. But yeah, so 25th for sure of June for the record.
25th of June, Decorative Arts. We're going to start it on Bandcamp, and then it will go to all the other platforms. But I'd like to start it on Bandcamp, get people checking out the YouTube with Evie's video, and that will be the start.
Amazing. Well, I think your set is starting at 9:15.
Yeah.
I've certainly never fallen asleep during one of his lectures. Oh, you're being bullied today on the chat.
And they're all literally within arm's reach.
It's okay, so you can slap them when you go up cam.
Pardon me? Pardon me? Yes, it is, Kale.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you said something about Cam or something like that.
Oh, no, I said if they're within an arm's reach, you can slap them, because when you go off cam.
I like Cruiser Cameron.
All right, well, we got a question. This question says, do you think there is a correlation between a heightened political climate and the rise in popularity of instrumental music?
Yes. I see, especially ambient music, like one of the off-brand things about ambient is you see it being used in a lot of applications that are meant to like calm people down. And I think I think ambient music is often co-signed to like help people self-optimize for like the anxiety of day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So I think, and then I think there's a positive thing where people talk a lot. There's like a lot of verbal violence in social media, and we get very into social media, and those narrow politics define us significantly. And not hearing it in words and just being allowed to project whatever we, or to be moved emotionally without the kind of like verbal signifiers, I think is relevant.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like lyrics kind of already tell you how the song is going to go and like what you kind of can expect to feel from it. I have read some articles that there has been like a rise in the popularity of ambient music since the Pan ED started, which I think is kind of interesting. Like probably people turning to more calm things and like a sense of stress to, I guess, eliminate that. Like I know I've been listening to a lot of like, I wouldn't necessarily call it ambient, but like solfeggio frequencies and like sound healing tones and stuff. Like that's always on my rotation. I find it very soothing.
Well,
that's something I turn to a lot.
And you were also saying in the zine that we did together, you talked about how a lot of people who were traditionally doing more clubby DJ stuff have started like producing more, slower, long form stuff. Do you remember you said something like that? That like as a result of there being no clubs.
I think I said that. Yeah, I said that DJs like on their radio shows and stuff, instead of playing like bangers, like they're playing like the weird stuff that they listen to in private. Because a lot of people like, and I think a lot of us like the music that we listen to is not always the music that we play or showcase. I mean, and that's certainly the case for me. I don't always like make mixes with the music that I listen to on a day-to-day basis, but it's been very fun seeing a lot of DJs get like really weird with their selections and like be like, you know what, I don't have to like do club stuff anymore because the setting is different. I can play the stuff that I normally like all this weird kind of unusual music. And I have enjoyed that. Like I really like how like crazy everyone is becoming.
Yeah. What are you seeing in particular, like in terms of that craziness? You're talking about generic craziness?
I feel like online everyone's becoming unhinged. Everybody's like picking up random hobbies. I do like to see it. I like to see people taking on projects that are like not always adjacent to what they're doing themselves. And the music people are releasing, like it's either dark or like hyperactive. And I have been enjoying like listening to recent releases. Like I don't always take the time to listen to the new stuff, but I have been for the last few months, like really like making an effort to dig in deep to all the new stuff that's coming out. And it's been very rewarding to see all the like nutty stuff that's been coming out, especially from like, people who are like 25 and younger, because they have unlimited access to tools and they also have so much time on the internet that like all their songs sound like what the internet sounds like personified.
Can you shout out some records? Do people want to put records in the chat that they're liking right now? But do you have some too that you want to say? Like,
I like this artist. I like this artist right now. I'm pretty sure he's young.
What's their vibe?
Or them. I'm not. It's technically like, I guess, hyperpop. It's not that crazy, but it's still pretty good. Not super popular.
I was just saying today that
what else do I like? Let me check my. I feel like that's me right now. I've also been like, Slater's good. She's good. Hang on, wait. Ravina Golden is good.
Who else in the chat?
Also, I've been listening to King Cruel, which is not crazy, but.
Gail loves King Cruel. I listen to Ben McCarthy too much. Oh yeah. The tattoo. I do want to shout out John R. right now. I don't want to dox him. Jeez, but who got the tattoo?